the weakness in Republicans is they can't fathom that other people are not like them. And so when somebody does something that is like truly selfless or thoughtful, patriotic, putting country first instead of self, they're like completely broadsided by it. You're listening to Hysteria, the podcast for freedom lovers.
Are we?
Yeah, we're freedom lovers. Alyssa, we're recording this on Wednesday morning. Tuesday night was the state roll call, which was low-key one of the most fun, joyful moments of any convention I've ever seen. And I have turned down for what stuck in my head as a result.
That, Erin, I can't get enough. I've always loved the roll call. I have always found it enjoyable because those are like the workhorses of the Democratic Party, and it's like their moment to shine. But last night was cardio activity watching the roll call.
It was amazing. The moment where Lil Jon appeared to announce the Georgia delegation was so funny.
Georgia, how do you cast your vote?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Five, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what?
Like, it was so funny. And the more I watch it, I found like a video of it, and everyone in the United Center
was like, what?
Yeah, and then they realized who it was, and they just like lost their minds. And I think that he also gave America what America has been asking for ever since Tim Walz was announced as Kamala Harris's running mate, which was Lil Jon going, Kamala Harris, Governor Walz, to the window, to the walls.
Yeah.
Wow. I know this is all like show and we're not really talking substance yet, but we will talk substance. We are, I'm really excited to get through the news section. No offense to you, but we're going to have somebody who is actually at the Democratic Convention this week to talk about like vibes. And so we are going to talk about things that are outside of the DNCC because there are more things going on in the world this week, namely, there is some counter-programming from the GOP, which I was totally unaware of until I was doing research for the show. Alyssa, what has the party of doom and gloom been up to while the Democrats have been partying?
They keep trying to make fetch happen. They can't help themselves. They're like, listen, we're getting in on this Chicago action. Now, the thing I think is funny about this, because I have worked on campaigns for over 20 years, is that, historically, back in like 96 and 2000 and 04, the party that was not having the convention usually went kind of quiet. Like they do fundraisers, they do debate prep. But the GOP is doubling down, Erin. They're in Chicago this week. They're at the Trump Hotel. I'm surprised they haven't
everyone in Chicago hates, by the way.
Yeah,
when they built that, they would everybody hates it. Anyway, carry on.
No, so they're there for 4 days. They're focusing on immigration, crime, the economy. I mean, okay, guys, whatever. First of all, Trump, after last night, is totally deflated. Totally. I mean, I don't even know why they're bothering with events for him. But yesterday, before maybe the greatest convention night of all time for Democrats or anybody, Erin, do you know where he went? He went to the KKK capital of Michigan. Town called Howell. Now, when I say the KKK capital, years and years ago, they have had ties to white supremacy. The Klan used to protest in the center of town. So Trump was like, you know what? This is where I'm going today. And he went to talk about crime and immigration. And I think it's like pretty rich that he's talking about crime and like the land of white supremacy, but by all means.
Nobody better tell those kids that Donald Trump has a Jewish daughter and son-in-law and Jewish grandchildren.
I think sometimes he forgets himself.
Yeah, I think so too.
And like he floats very in and out of his consciousness of like his actual family. But then also the House Republicans, did you see this shit? They were like, we're here, we're bringing it, the impeachment investigation. Erin, I tried to read it. Do you know what old Jim Jordan came up with? This was the best they had. First of all, so the impeachment inquiry is largely closed. This will probably be the first time there was ever an impeachment inquiry that didn't result in voting on impeachment. But they don't have the votes. You know why? Because the whole report essentially boiled down to Hunter and James Biden wouldn't have gotten the deals they would have gotten if his last name wasn't Biden, if Joe Biden wasn't his dad.
But how can they prove that? They can't prove that. They could just allude to that. And also, who cares? Enough.
Isn't
that kind of...
I'm sorry.
Things work.
Here's where we're at.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, here's the problem. They don't believe in corollaries, right? So I don't know, but if this is true, then when Trump becomes president, you could, in theory, then Democrats could impeach him out the gate, because would Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, have ever funded an entire private equity situation without the sovereign wealth money of Saudi Arabia?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If he weren't a Trump by marriage?
What about Ivanka Trump's Chinese patents that are basically
What about all those
hotels?
Remember, doesn't she have some weird hotel in like Azerbaijan or something?
Yeah, something that's very sus.
So it feels like there's not a lot of there.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about, how much time, resources, energy, and hype the Republicans wasted on this. Like it was all building toward them not believing that Joe Biden would drop out of the race, because the weakness in Republicans is they can't fathom that other people are not like them. And none of them would have dropped out of the race if they were Joe Biden. And so when somebody does something that is like truly selfless or thoughtful, patriotic, putting country first instead of self, they're like completely broadsided by it. That's my theory on why they just like did not assume. I kind of always thought that Joe Biden might drop out. Like,
It felt like a possibility.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, it was still a surprise, but it's like, oh, he's a good guy who like cares about his country. But the Republicans cannot fathom anybody who is not as selfish as them. They cannot fathom anybody who's not behaving the way. That's why I think Republicans, I know I'm going off on a tangent here.
Please, tangent.
I've had 90 minutes of sleep in the last 24 hours. When you hear Republicans talk about things like trans bathroom bans, and how if people are allowed to go into the bathroom that matches their identified gender, then men will go into the women's bathroom. That to me reads like a confession. Like, you guys just want to go in the girls' locker room, you fucking weirdos. So I think that the Republicans could not conceive of Biden dropping out. And he did. And now it really exposes how much time, resources, brain power, air conditioning in the Capitol was wasted on this ridiculous effort. And honestly, Alyssa, I think at this point, when it comes to the GOP, we got to throw the whole party out.
There's no one worth saving.
There isn't. They're all
maybe.
bad.
Honestly, here's the thing. Liz Cheney, we can save Liz.
Liz, and I think Mitt Romney sometimes stands up and does the right thing. But the other ones, like, Larry Hogan, maybe.
Yeah, he's good. Look, there are some, but there are not many.
Did you see the clip of Representative Nancy Mace on
No.
on CNN? Oh my God, she was in a CNN roundtable with more than one Black journalist was on the round table.
Uh-oh.
And she mispronounced Kamala Harris's name, which is like a really common, I would say, racist microaggression that Republicans...
Party trick, yeah.
Yeah,
it's their thing.
They really think they're doing something when they call her like Kamala or whatever.
Kamala, that's their favorite.
Yeah.
Kamala.
They really think they're doing something. And somebody on the panel was like, that's not how you say her name. And she was like, I can pronounce her name however I want. Nancy... I'm going to call you Nanky. Nanky.
That's not how it works, Nance.
It's not. But even her, who she's trying to hold herself out as like, I'm a cool Republican. I'm like young. She's not cool. She's not that young, to be honest. But yeah, it throw the whole party up. That's my takeaway from all this.
Yeah, they're boring. I think they're just really rocked by, for lack of a better word, the vibes. They're like, wait a minute, they all like each other. Wait a minute, they're not just talking about like murdering people and like all of the dark and dank shit they talked about at their convention. People are just like dancing on the floor.
Yeah, Dems
they're
in
just
array.
Dems in celebration.
Yeah,
Dems love the
formation.
process.
Yes,
Dems in formation. That's it.
It was, it really seems like they can't understand what's happening right now.
Do you know what, Aaron? Do you think that the Republicans are just sad that every time they try to use anybody's music, they get a cease and desist letter?
Oh my God. I thought about that last night, and I saw a couple people had tweeted about it.
It's so good.
Do you think the Democrats are going to get any cease and desist?
No, because I'm sure actually that they probably checked most of the music to make sure it was cleared. But my favorite one, which I texted you about, was when Florida used Tom Petty, because Tom Petty was like the actual musical king of Florida. And he also, his estate sent many cease and desist letters to the Trump campaign telling them to stop using Won't Back Down.
I absolutely love that. That is incredible. I loved that they had Dropkick Murphys, Chapel Roan on the playlist.
Dropkick Murphys, I have to shout out my friend Steve Kerrigan. He's the state party in Massachusetts, and I loved seeing him nominate Kamala to the Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, that was the most Massachusetts thing.
100%. And it's like, good for them.
Good for them.
As, by the way, J-Lo and Ben get divorced.
Yeah. Man, that Aquarius full moon, I gotta say.
Wow. A lot happening.
Aquarius full moon. The impeachment report that like turned out to be nothing. J-Lo and Ben. J-Lo with her Leo energy just divorcing.
Was everywhere.
In a community property state. Folks, don't have California residency before you declare divorce. Simply do not do it. It is
So funny.
The reason I know this is because my next door neighbor works for a kind of high profile divorce attorney. And, you know, she doesn't like tell me details of what she's doing, but, you know, California divorce is like a big business because it's very complicated. It's kind of funny when rich people do it because there's like a lot of, I don't know. Is that mean?
No, it's fine because it's kind of like a low stakes thing, right? They're going to be fine.
They're gonna
like
be
no one's losing their whole livelihood.
Right. Nobody left the workforce for 15 years to raise the other's children or like put them through medical school. And now they don't have a resume and they have to go out into the world and try to make money.
They're both going to be just fine.
They're going to be fine. But man, Y2K really is back, isn't it?
It does feel so Y2K-ish.
Maybe
I think
oh God.
This means that my girlfriends and I from 1999 need to go buy plane tickets to Spain because they're cheap. We're like, we'll fly on Y2K. It's fine.
We better not be redoing Bush v. Gore if this is Y2K.
That's 100% correct. No, we can't do that.
We're not doing that. Y2K is not back, folks. Don't
That was sorry. We went too far.
No,
we went
don't
too far.
overpluck your eyebrows. You don't need to wear metallics.
You don't need the lilac shimmery eyeshadow from MAC. I know all you girls remember it.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you're over 35, your eyelids are too wrinkly for that. It gets all like cakey.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
These are unadorned eyelids.
Wow. I really like your glasses, by the way.
Thank you. They're my new computer specs.
They're cool.
They're basically magnifying glasses.
I want to talk about one more thing before we take a break and get into our
What
panel.
else?
Because I am so excited for this panel this week because we have
It's going to be so good.
It's going to be really fun. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how the issue of abortion and reproductive rights have been rebranded successfully by the Democrats by whoever came up with it. Give them a raise, although I'm sure they probably got paid millions of dollars to come up with this. Reproductive freedom, I think, is a great way to describe the comprehensive choice that Democrats want people to have. And I'm so excited by the rebrand of it because, like, who doesn't like freedom?
Who doesn't like freedom? Just come on, libertarians, get on board.
Yeah, I can see like some creep like J.D. Vance or one of his acolytes saying that like people have the freedom to be born, but that's ridiculous. If you're like some cells, you don't. I'm sorry.
Here's the problem. No, but I love this because Republicans are always like, this is the problem. It kind of calls them out on their total hypocrisy because their whole issue is they're like, government's too big. Get government out of my house. Get government off. Really? You just don't want government to regulate how you make money because you actually seem to be fine with government regulating everything else. But true conservatives, I feel like they'd be hard pressed to say that like, when you brand it as reproductive freedom, how do they make the argument that this is the one freedom? They're like, not on board with.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just like the freedom to obtain abortion. I think that it's more comprehensive than that. It's the freedom to have the family that you want to have by using IVF or IUI. It's the freedom to decide whether or not you want to have any sort of gender affirming care. I mean, that's a form of reproductive freedom.
Birth control,
whether you want to have, more children and you can't afford it. I feel like reproductive freedom is like more than just going into a doctor's office. It's like economic policy. It is social
Everything.
policy. It is tax policy. It's so smart. And I guess the organization formerly known as NARAL, Pro-Choice America, changed its name to Reproductive Freedom for All in the fall of 2023. So maybe we have them to thank for being on the
You know what I
edge
learned?
of this.
Do you know what I learned from the roll call last night?
What?
Hawaii, first state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment and make abortion legal.
Wow. And they're like several hours behind most of the rest of the country. Despite
Aloha and mahalo. Yes.